So you can proceed. Yeah. So how was your tea? It was giving, eh? So after the event, we'll. I know you have differing opinions. After the event, we'll share a survey. You give your feedback, sir. Based on your if you enjoyed it or yeah. So we can proceed to the next session. Yes, the next question. What are the most important topics that the youth in your country, stroke worldwide, should advocate for? Yeah. So we as Kenyans, I know we have different priorities from TZ and Uganda. Our needs as Gen Zs, as youths, as maybe millennials, are actually differing from those of the millennials of TZ and of UG. So you as youths, what do you feel are your priority areas? What should you focus on? What should you advocate for as the Kenyan youth? Yes. I open the floor. Yeah, what do you feel are your priority areas that you need to focus on, you need to advocate for? I'm hearing employment. Okay, Jerry.
Unemployment, do you like yeah, I think last week, but it should be like a decent work and sorry.
Jerry, continue.
Oh, okay. So unemployment because according to like statistics, like a lot of Kenyan youths, hey Mboya, a lot of like Kenyan youths are struggling with that. In as much as we are being employed, most organizations, employers, just to like tick the checkbox and like speak about this in like the disability perspective. 2 weeks ago, I had problems with my employer, and when I wrote to like, give them an email, they felt like okay, they felt like I'm so woke because a lot of youths right now know their rights. We have read like the Employment Act, we have read the Disability Act 203, and we are so woke. And when I quoted the Employment Act and the Disability Act, like this guy is a threat, and so they had to like terminate my contract because of that. But because of being woke, you know like yoni unfair dismissal, and now we'll have to like meet with them on a bench in court, and they explained to me why they dismissed me because I asked for my rights. So like in as much as we are like advocating for employment, it should be like decent work, not just like work for ticking the checkbox, but decent work. Yeah.
On top of that, most people don't know about something called upskilling and bridging into the workforce. So a lot of you have heard Kenya Kwanza government say that people with skills in Kenya will be exported to work abroad, right? Let's say you have a degree in IT or software engineering, and you get upskilled and taken to work maybe to the US, and you meet a system such as Amazon Web Services that you've never used in your life, and it was never incorporated in your 844 system. You have never seen that before in your life. Imagine experiencing such a shock while you're in a new country. That was me, but I was in Kenya We were told there is an opportunity, you can work abroad. And we were told we could be cloud engineers with Amazon Web Services. And that is where, for me, I knew I didn't have the skill because I have a background in supply chain. I watched kids get very disappointed and desperate because they wanted the jobs, but when it came to the skills, none of them had even a quarter. A quarter. Imagine you're saying I have a background in IT. Then you're given a very fancy MacBook, a nice phone, and you're told now work on databases that are based in Illinois, Texas. And you look at these databases and you realize, oh my God, the 4 years I spent in campus were useless, absolutely useless. And nobody talks about this, but I think upskilling and talking about the fact that degrees in Kenya may not have the content required out there. When it comes to systems and finances, there are already people who are making systems that do what we are being taught to do with our pen and hand. How are you going to compete with someone who started doing coding when they were maybe 8-9 years, yet you just have 6 months of experience with coding? How will you feel seated next to someone who started coding when they were 6 years, and you have 6 months of coding, and you're claiming to be a software engineer? They don't even have the degree that you have, but they have the skills. You know? And it's very scary when you get into that platform and you don't have the skills, and you realize while you're in the platform that you don't have the skills that they're claiming they gave you. That's why ukiona mtu akikwambia nakufunza Python na 3 months, you cannot become a Python guru in 3 months, not even 6 months, not even 9 months. Don't get lied to. So when you see opportunities, ask them about the upskilling and how long it takes them to upskill you before they call you incompetent, yet they did not train you long enough.
I think I can ride on that and just summarize it as education reforms, because the education system we have in Kenya, it's like set up for failure. The education system and the marketplace, two different things. That is the famous phrase, kikuja kwa ground vitu ni different. And again, while we are at education reforms, there is also need to divert from formal education to skills-first approach. Most of the cars, watu tumebarikiwa na magari, bwana asifiwe sana. Yes, most of the cars we are driving, sorry, I don't want to turn away. Most of the cars we are driving are being made by people who never stepped in class. Those mechanics or whatever, watu wa mkono, right? Most of them, they learned at work, basically. That is what it's on-job training. It's just, we cannot give them that title of they learned while on the job, just because we see them as something different. So maybe a skills-first approach in terms of employment. If we do that, a research paper, not a research paper, it is a study finding by We Forum, inaitwa We Economic Forum ama We Forum, and also World Bank in their economic outlook of Africa. We can only work towards out of youth and employment if we go skills-first approach. A lot of young people, they're out there with no formal education because our education system is expensive. And then the economy is not good. So we want to make education less expensive. Let's pick people who have learned on the job. Like those people, skills of weaving or whatever. If we hire them into formal jobs and continue upskilling them while on the job, then we have sorted youth and employment probably by half according to the study itself. And also, let's call a spade a spade. We cannot be successful in policy making without participating in politics. I know the political space is not friendly for young people, true or false. But again, we cannot continue shying away from picking up politics actively and pursuing it until you make it on that ballot box. Otherwise, it's this conversation day in, day out, because at the end of the day, the person who's signing that signature, whose signature matters, doesn't know the language you're talking about. He doesn't even understand all these problems. So unasema, yet you're the one who took that person to that ballot box. So unless we stop from shying away from politics and picking them up, you can start from whatever, councillor, chief. Just find your way up to member of parliament, because those are the ones who are responsible for making policies. So if we have spaces, we go into political space and engagement, and that starts from us advocating for quotas in those political parties, that this number of nominations, we should stop being nominees. Young people who are all in government or in parliament are all nominees. Elected is just one or two people. So, and again, until we are brave enough to get out of behind the microphone or behind your keyboard, how about you go now in front of the camera and do all these things and pick up the pen and sign whatever. So maybe if we prioritize those spaces, akutakuwa na another reject finance bill. We will have reasonable people in parliament arguing, because Kagusha will tell you, and a few of my legislators friends, it's just that mimi nimeenda shule, right? But my friend who's an MP of a major town, agenda shule, but he has numbers. So my no won't matter. What matters is numbers in Kenya. Again, that is the reality. And I usually say, as youth advocates, we should get out of the fancy youth policy advocacy created by the Western world. Let's focus on youth advocacy in African perspective. We know what matters in African spaces, right? Numbers, money, what else? The two things. Money is the source of corruption, at least that's how we assume, right? And there's an aspect of numbers. So again, detaching our advocacy from the Western approach to an African approach, because there's also that disconnect. We are doing things the white, I didn't want to say the white way, but we are doing it the white way instead of doing it the African way. So maybe if we again approach everything that we are doing the African way, would literally build a lot of muscle to whatever we are doing here. And I don't know anything else that we should prioritize. But economy, that's the bottom line.
Thank you, Linda. So let's give those who've not spoken. Yeah.
So what I think the youth advocates should prioritize, I don't know how to put it in words, but youth should prioritize for the government to develop a lot of these different industries or sectors. Like there was someone who was saying that here that she learned knowledge about supply and procurement, and then there's this whole other aspect of like cloud engineering. So I'm wondering, like, why can't we have like a country where you do what you've already learned? Because if you go from one sector to another, that's really challenging. And also there's an example that she said about I think, was it programming or Python or something, and I'm in that background, and the example that she said, that she has seen like some examples of people giving out teaching skills about maybe programming in Python in 3 months, which is false. I would say that's false. That can't happen. You can't learn like how to program in 3 months. That's not true. So I'd say we need to prioritize for the government to like develop a lot of these sectors, so that you don't learn like you specialize in like one industry and then you're now forced to go to another industry because like there are no jobs, or the pay is not really, you can't live on it. Yeah.
Thank you for those inputs. There's a hand behind you.
Okay, the other thing that I think this country should really work on, I think it's inclusion. Most of the organizations tend to ask you this question, utafanya aje? Like, how will you do it? What I can say, give me that job, let me do it. If I have not done it well, chase me. I won't blame you. But I can tell you for free that I am an actress, a visually impaired actress. And anytime I try to join auditions, the first question they ask me ni, utafanyaje? Really? No, I always ask myself, kwani ni macho inaongea? Si ni mdomo? So, employments nyingi sana, schools, they reject us. Like, unaenda kuambia ati mimi ni teacher wa CRE, unaenda kumwambia ninaweza funza, and the person asks you, watoto wetu watakuelewaje? Sinyi mnanielewa? So inclusion should be the major thing that this country should work on. And a question to Kenya Forum, mko na watu wangapi wa disability on board? Ama any organization hapa ndani, how many disabled people do you have on board? And if you have them, do you always engage them? How do you engage them? Is it ethically? Not pitifully. Don't say hataweza. Give them, wacha anguke ajiokote. Don't be pitiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those. Okay, there's a hand. Hey, Jerry, one meeting. There was a hand there.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I just want to appreciate all the speakers who have spoken about educational reform. I'm still a comrade and I know like what is in the books and everything, so it's just totally different in the real world. Then a different aspect of it all, I just want to say, the youth that are, let's the youth work, let us work on us for us, yeah? If you're in that influential position as a youth sounding board member, regardless of the level you hold, just uplift those voices of youth in different parts of the country. If you have anything going on, like let them know. Don't just work in a vacuum and then do your term and then now leave. Sometimes you don't know the procedures of how these leadership positions by youths are taken. Not everyone knows, but by virtue of being here, I kind of know, then I can share with my youths back home, in school or even outside school, in my community. And thank you for SDGs Kenya Forum for the great work you're doing. Like, even having all this period of time we spent together is big on its own. So let's work on us for us, sure.
I would also want to add on the issue of unemployment. There is a time after finishing my Cisco course at NITA, it was sponsored by Site Savers. We applied for an internship at Safaricom. I passed all the exams and the interview, and the next thing was to fill my details. But because I indicated that I'm a visually impaired person, the next thing was, we regret. Yes. So kindly Kenya Forum, when you also engage the such organizations, tell them to be inclusive and to stop the so-called biasness. And also on the issue of quality of education, our curriculum is not friendly. The same way you incorporated the study of HIV and AIDS, disability should also be included in our curriculum. Ndio mtoto akigrow up asikuje kuchukia wale wengine because of a disability. Watakuwa already wamefunzwa from grade 1 hata huko nursery. So ana grow up kujua kuna kitu inaitwa disability. The same way tunajua kuna kitu inaitwa HIV and AIDS, and this will help to reduce even stigma in our society.
So thank you for that. So let's give SDGs an opportunity to respond. Stella.
Hi everyone. Let me be a bit personal. How many of us are on EU Youth Sounding Board? Here. So the reason why I've asked that is because the SDGs Kenya Forum as an organization, it's very inclusive. And even when we were doing the shortlisting for the youth sounding board, I really remember, we wanted to ensure that even in the spirit of leaving no one behind, are we practicing it as an organization? And so we ensured that even in that EU sounding board, we will have different people as long as they have the ability to deliver. And I'm really glad the face of the EU Youth Sounding Board are here. They can actually attest to that. So people with disability, the youth with disabilities are there. Different calibers of people are there, just to ensure, even as we talk about youth being included, do we also have specific voices of the youth that can actually attest and say that, yes, I am included in this board and my voices can really be heard and amplified. It doesn't matter who I am, it doesn't matter how I am, but what matters is what I am bringing in this board. So as an organization, we are very strong, and I remember I said that yesterday, we are very strong on leaving no one behind, and that will not deter us from ensuring we're very inclusive. Thank you.
I wanted to address the issue of education, inclusivity in the curriculum. I attended a certain workshop, and it was being, it brought all educators from the ministry to the CSOs, and it was education in the ASAL regions as, specifically. And the conversations are happening whereby they're highlighting life skill and values, and also highlighting disability in schools. So the conversations are happening in the ministries, putting disability, psychosocial disability as well, educating children, small, the small children on, if you see someone who, walks different or talks different or looks different, it doesn't mean they're different, it just means, we are able differently. And also changing the conversation. So from what I can say is, from that workshop that we attended, it was being sponsored by Poticas was there, Rayleigh was there, education muscle organizations. And so in terms of life skill and values, disability and inclusion, I want to say the conversations are happening in that regard.
So I think, Jerry, you were the one who was pushing for SDGs to reply. I think you've gotten the reply. And our colleague behind there. Wait, your time will come. So any hand who has not talked between the two? Let's give the guy first. He has not spoken.
Okay, thank you very much. We're talking about most important topics to advocate for. So one of the underlying issues we are currently facing as Kenyan youths is born from heartbreak. Heartbreak means you move out of campus, you don't get a job, you are heartbroken. You go to certain spaces, some of us, like my colleagues have said, you are being told, what can you offer? Then you get chased away because of your disability, inability to communicate. But they really don't give you that space to prove yourself. If you are not able, then they chase away, as my colleague here said. So the bottom line is that we are youths who have been indoctrinated into having depression issues, mental health, and making us like, when you give up as a youth, there's so much that you will not give to the society. We have so many great minds, so many diverse knowledge and expertise out here who don't have jobs. And in addition, for not having jobs, they are not able to start up, to have startups because of financial issues, because of the mental health issues they are undergoing So what we need as youths is to advocate for social-emotional learning. Social-emotional learning means that you, as a youth, you are able to assess yourself, think critically, know your value, understand yourself better. In addition, when you have those skills of social-emotional learning, you are able to understand your fellow youths. Some of the reason why these youth sounding boards don't work, and some of the reason is that once you get there, you forget that you are a youth. You start mimicking the generation X ama Z, those values. Unakaa mkali kabisa. When you see your fellow youth, unamuona, this person does not have the necessary skills. It's just a villager. That's an example. And this is your fellow youth. Then you wonder, am I in the wrong era? Ama mimi nimezaliwa juzi, huyo alizaliwa 1940. So, yeah, silent generation. So you really wonder, is this my fellow youth who is doing all this to other fellow youths? So what we need is to encourage these youths after campus. We know our education system does not teach us how to interact with people, mostly. They just give us service information. So they really don't tell us that after school, you will be meeting your employers. You will be meeting diverse people. They will not necessarily be born in your era, but we have generations. How are we going to talk to these people? Maybe right now, we usually use, inaitwanga aje? In Kiswahili tunasema, you raise your voices. We don't really know how to speak respectively. We have been indoctrinated to know that if you want something, one shout. If you need something, even if I am, sometimes I put myself in that shoes of our fathers. If I was sitting in the board and you are telling me I want this because you bring a topic of discrimination before it even shows up, I not even listen to you. I just walk away. So sometimes we need to know how to speak respectively. But sadly, many of us don't know how to speak respectively. So what can we do? Is to just advocate for after school skill development, where we design a system, for example, a hub, which can be like a one shopping hub. I can say one-stop shopping hub, where students from campus, they can access mentors. Because these things, you cannot get them from formal education, you can only get them from mentors. We access mentors, they take us through the reality of life for even 5 months, 6 months program, 8 months, so that we can know how to understand each other as a young person, as an older person. How can we understand each other? How can we articulate our challenges we are facing together, and then make decisions as people who are living in the same planet, but not people who are living from Mars, Mungina, Earth. So we don't get each other. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for those wonderful inputs. Yeah. So, okay.
I've heard him talk about speaking respectfully, but I think that is a very debatable thing, isn't it? There's a difference between being assertive and being disrespectful. So I don't have to be timid, a word that was used by someone. I don't have to show up timidly. Yes, I don't have to show up timidly for me to look respectful. And I don't have to shout for me to be heard. I have to know how to differentiate between being assertive, being disrespectful, being timid, and the word here is being assertive. Just stating your facts without respecting or without being disrespectful, but also not shrinking yourself to fit into something so that you can get something. You should be able to clearly decipher all that so that you can come out, speak your truth, get your opportunity, but also not compromise on your dignity and your self-worth in the process so that you can shrink to fit into people's small boxes. I don't know whether I'm communicating. Yeah, but I've seen youth being pushed into that area of just shrinking yourself, biting the bullet all the time so that you can fit into people's boxes to get things that you want. So you should be able to know when to shrink and when to just stand up for yourself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those wonderful inputs. So, the next question that I'm going to ask, I want to know the role of youth in this. I want to know whether you are aware, okay, which SDG deals with decent work? Let's start from there. Austin. Oh, no. It's okay. Okay, precise. Tell me the targets and the indicators of SDG 8. Because no. Don't Google. Yeah. So the reason I asked. That is just one. Which target is it? Okay. So the reason I've asked this question, we as the youth, we should start from there, okay? We know SDG 8, decent work, but do we know the targets? Do we know the indicators? So that is the first, before even we go to a room and start saying unemployment, nini, we have to be conversant with these things. So that maybe when you're, for example, in UN, if you go to UN and start talking about unemployment, you have to be like specific. Those guys, they don't just listen to rumors. You have to like address the indicators, the targets, like be targeted as you can. Yes, that is the first thing. Secondly, I've heard about the education reforms. So the next question, CBC, is it the solution? That is a question that will answer CBC. The next one is about these challenges that you've mentioned: unemployment, education reforms. So are they innate to Kenya only? Are they innate to East Africa? So those who went to New York, I think you had the best exposure there. So you'll tell us whether the UN youth delegates, what were some of these challenges that they were raising? Are they similar to the African problems? That is the second question. Thirdly, there is this aspect of youth advocacy in Africa, youth for youth. Yeah. So how many have heard about South-South cooperation? South-South cooperation. Yep. Okay. Linda, have you heard about South-South cooperation? Do you know what it entails? Okay.
Even civil societies or development partners, from the word which we heavily dislike, Global South. Yeah. But that's as far as I have interacted with the name. That is how far my knowledge about it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's usually the Global North and the Global South. So Global North are usually the developed countries. And then the Global South are the us. Yeah. So I loved the point on youth-to-youth advocacy. So actually the conversation is shifting. We should embrace the South-South, Africa for Africans. Yeah, that is the next step. So if you bring it to a lower level, that is where the youth-to-youth cooperation comes in. So you can apply the same. I don't want to expound it because of time, but I think you get the gist. So yes. Yeah, so I think those are the questions that I've asked. So CBC, let's hear something about CBC. Is it the way to go? I know that the current education system, it does not meet the demand of the current job market. Sindio? It doesn't. It depends. Everywhere. Okay. So, okay. So in short, somebody give me a solution. So what is the way forward? So we've stated the problem. So what is the way forward? Education system. Is CBC the solution?
But as long as the economy, okay, I think I should not be contributing, but some of these things really, in my opinion, the government should ensure that the environment, the economic environment is conducive enough. Because as much as you churn out a lot of skill, where is this skill being used? Yes, we are talking about CBC, we are talking about empowering the kids to create, but as much as they have the skill, tuko na carpenters kumi, but do we have buying power among the citizens to be able to buy those furniture? Now that the skill is there, people are talented, they can do all that. How many people can pay, for example, for Sauti Sol concerts? See, hizo ndio skills zenye tunatry to bring up, the talents. How are we doing in terms of this track that they have, the sports and all that? Do we have enough stadiums? Do we have the capability to pay youth to play for clubs in Kenya? So the bottom line is that Ruto must go. Anyway, the bottom line is the economy has to grow. It has to be conducive enough so that it can absorb all these skills that we are in, and people can have the buying power. Because consumerism is what pushes everything.
Okay.
In that regard, how many people have gone to hospitals and there were fewer doctors and nurses? They are short-staffed. You've had short staffing, right? I'm sure someone here knows a nurse who doesn't have a job, or a doctor who doesn't have a job, and yet hospitals are short-staffed. I've seen people say a hospital does. Okay, I'm in procurement. This one is going to bite me back. Anyway, I'm in procurement, and I once had someone say, "E hospital inanga madawa." I was working at Kisii Level 5 Hospital. I was in charge. We were in charge of the warehouse. We had a warehouse that was around 4 floors of drugs, and everyone is like, "They're not drugs. They're not drugs." I'm like, hmm? The best drugs, but I can tell you guys, the best drugs that are of the best quality are in public hospitals, but you will still be told they're not drugs. I have been in the procurement department. I'm not talking about hearsay. I'm talking about, someone comes in for a C-section and they're told, you need to buy this. A doctor in that hospital requires a C-section. They won't pay a penny. We will go and issue the drugs, and the CEO will come and perform surgery on them free of charge. So is it really the fact that our education is not good, or are the systems working against us? Aren't the systems just working against us? Because we are slowly imploding. How many education systems are we going to change for us to realize, by the way, it's the systems that are not working. It's not the skills. Because I've also worked somewhere where someone needed an accountant, a procurement officer, but they still chose not to hire them. They still were like, no, I'm not going, I don't want to pay for that. I have worked in organizations where they needed 7 interns to do this, 8 interns to do this, but they did not still hire for those positions. Or someone comes and tells you, but I can do your job. did you go to school to do it? No. I've just looked at you do it and I think I can do it. And that is how someone who has a very different background somehow claims to be able to do your job, despite them not knowing what you're doing there. So before we start changing systems, how about we look at the cracks in our own systems first?
And then after
Okay.
Linda, we can give. Amimo is crying there.
Oh. Can someone give Amimo some tissues while we wait? Marvin! No, I think what COI is saying. All right, let's call the room to an order. Thank you. So maybe what COI is saying goes back to what Irene was saying, economic environment. On behalf of all employers, Bwana asifiwe sana. If you don't have, revenue income that matches the labor that you need, how are you going to finance for the services that you require? So economic environment is again where our argument is. It is not set up to make everyone be in a position to afford all the services they need. But going back to education reforms, what we are advocating about is things like doctors finishing 5 years in whatever thing they're doing and then go acquire licensing somewhere else. I don't know if we understand the complexities of how many doctors have degree but don't have licenses to practice, because that is another thing, because it's expensive to sit for the exam. So we're just asking, incorporate all these things into one thing. These people go to training, what do they call it? EOA, where they spend a year in the hospital just learning practicals and stuff. For doctors, we don't have doctors here. Health practitioners. All right. But whatever, that is what we are calling for. And especially CC Watu Finance, we are tired of going to study financial statement analysis in CPA class when we did it in our whole bachelor's degree. So instead of distributing systems, making it expensive, how about consolidating them and making them work? And also give on-job training. Spending 4 years in a class doesn't make sense if I don't get time to step out in a practical world. Otherwise, you're just pumping knowledge to my brain. Another year goes, I have forgotten what you taught me year one. But if we can have our education system in a way that it incorporates the industry, because that's what we are calling for, synergy between the industries, specific industries, and the education system, so that they work hand in hand. That alignment is what we call for when we talk about education system reforms. But for purposes of economic environment and who hires who doesn't hire who, it's just if we get a lot of, and this is for the government, if they create avenues for industries to thrive, then anyone can hire anyone at the same time. So I feel like those are two different spaces. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Is CBC the game changer? I would say it is not the game changer. I have come to realize that in Kenya, most of the things we adopt, we literally copy. We copy paste. If you can ask whoever came with the idea of CBC, you'll realize that probably it is not a Kenyan, or if it is a Kenyan, he has copy-pasted exactly what others do without considering the context of Kenya. I can say, and you have the right to dispute, that CBC will be relevant in 20 years to come, but not now. Until the CBC pioneers relevant, it will not be relevant in the next 10 years, 15 years. It will only start appreciating when the CBC pioneers are already into the job markets. because looking at CBC, how it is designed, Kenya still has a lot of gaps to fit, like Irene was saying. You will realize that for us to appreciate those in sports, there are facilities that we don't have. There are levels that we have not reached. So if maybe Europe is paying talents, maybe football, and it is well paying in Europe, in Kenya or in Africa, or I have seen there are clubs that pay well in the Northern Africa. No club in the Southern Africa or in East Africa that pays that somebody can fully depend on sports, as I have checked, or maybe I can limit it to football. I can limit it to football because that is what I have checked. In East Africa and South Africa, there is no football club that pays well. I have seen there are 2 clubs in the North Africa, and so having a football like academy in Kenya, it will not pay now. It will not pay in 10 years because, like, for you to build those structures until you get to that level, it takes time. If we deliberately engage, it will appreciate in 20 years. And those who are the pioneers would be in a better position to upscale this. I hope we agree with that. Is it true? Yeah, and so for as at now, CBC is not a game changer. And if I were to participate before it was included, I would say we do it progressively. We were not to overhaul, turn down everything. We were to introduce bits of CBC in bits, not introduce it at once like it has been done. Because now, even if you check, those who are offering CBC training, or those who are the teachers, the CBC teachers, they went through a different system. You check, it has even changed the normal ABCD, the sounds we knew. Like the sounds I learned. Today, I can't even explain to young kids the sounds because they are completely different. I don't know whether you've realized that. And this is a big gap because somebody who is going to train this was taught something different. So you are actually training something that is out of the blues. That somebody and they do capacity building, and it's normally a week. Like now there's a capacity building in the coast for junior school teachers, and it's going through a week. So somebody learned for 10, 15 years, a system, and then a new system comes up and somebody wants to train you it in a week's time and expects you to deliver. It will be tricky. Ukweli uongo. So in the next 10 years, CBC is not going to deliver. But in 20 years, it will start peaking. And it will only peak when the pioneers are already in the market. Because they will try to imply, like they relate well with it than us. And then a question I would want us to get into before Linda, or before the question of CBC came up, is a question of Kenyan politics. Steve, you brought a very good discussion, and Linda spoke about it. Kenyan politics is a very murky ground for the young people. And when you check, it is very expensive. I'm speaking from experience. One time I sat down and scaled up how much does somebody need to become a Westlands MP. And then I came up with some figures, and I realized I could fit with the figures I came up with. When I started, I took a month and the funds were over. It was not a quarter of the real budget that was needed. And the reason why you find that our politicians are not youth, and if they are youth who are in politics, then they are nominated, is because the how do I call it? The older guys have made money. they have worked, they have enough financing. I have realized that campaigning for an MP seat in Nairobi, you need over 30 million Kenya shillings. And for a youth who can access 30 million Kenya shillings without struggle, it is wash or something else. But then how can we scale, how can we narrow this? What can we do? Now this is the question. How can we bridge this gap? Now that you are here and you have seen that there's a problem, and you will agree with me that the youths in politics, we are just fancy when it comes to policy making. But in the real policy making, we do not engage. How can we change the narrative?
Thank you for those wonderful inputs. But I actually noted that this CBC question, it's usually well answered by parents. So based on my experience and the conferences I've attended, if you ask a room full of parents the CBC thing, they'll open up and they'll rant. You know, ranting. You know, Gen Zs, I think, they're not conversant maybe with how it goes. You know, the parents are the ones who do this. There are usually some funny homework, suppose the CBC. The parents are the ones who relate. So, kidogo hapo, I think it's not a Gen Z thing sana. Yeah. You're a parent. CBC.
What do you call it? The yarn. This is a kushona, a crochet. She wants to start crocheting over the holidays. She told me that she wants to make me a scarf and an inaitwaje hiyo kitu, Marvin. And that is someone who is 9 years old. So, isn't that entrepreneurial? It is. But my problem with systems is, do we have the economic environment where all these skills that we are teaching are able to be utilized? Is the economy ripe for those talents? The same way, we've churned out so many graduates. They are coming out, they are bright. Listen to all these ideas here. Na hapa kuna watu wengi sana wako jobless. Why? Because the economy is not ripe. It does not, it's not ready for what we have. So it goes back to the government. It should create an environment where we have investors, where entrepreneurship is not like pulling teeth. You try to start a business and then the bottlenecks you go through are so many that you give up before you even start. So CBC for me, it's the best. But the environment has to be ripe for those skills to actually be able to earn these kids an income in many years to come.
Wonderful inputs. So there were two. Okay, we start with Jerry, then Beryl. Beryl, do you still have the question? So let's just start with Jerry because he's also crying there. Maybe you can give him some.
Yeah. So thank you, Nani. Yeah. So I think that I want to go off topic a bit, but I'm still on the cause of what we are speaking about. And when we look at the employment and economic inclusion, there is a high level of employment in the country. And it's always being said that when you're not on the table, you are on the menu. So youths have decided to come up with their own solutions like this, right? Or wrong? Right. So I've been in these NGO space and everything. For a while, you'll find that a youth will just open an CBO or just an organization and claim that this organization wants to empower the youth, wants to create more employment, right? But you'll find that this is just a briefcase. the name of the organization, ndiko tu hapo mbele, they meet the youth for just like a photo of events, stories. By the way, there is like an organization that called us for an event, and they wanted us to share our stories as people with disabilities, and we did. And you'll find that they leave you when it comes to like the decision making, or like when they are like presenting this to like their funders and everything. They just want like that don't cash, but the real impact that they started that thing for isn't even like being practical. Am I lying, or I'm saying the truth? Have you guys like experienced that ama ni peke yangu? Have you? Guys, why are you on the phones when we are having important discussions? Is it right, or I'm just like, you know? Because I feel like I'm going crazy, by the way. You like, organizations zimekuwa mingi, which is right, but sasa like, why are we not like addressing these like pressing issues? Huh? You want to like address youth employment, or rather like unemployment and inclusion, but you are not even doing this. Niliwambia that last 2 weeks ago I had like problems with my employer because I felt like I'm being like I'm being discriminated, and I was just employed there just to like check the box. It's an NGO, and they receive a lot of funds. But sasa like when I say that I'm Jerry, I'm having a speech impediment, and these are like what I want and how you can accommodate me. They feel like I'm using a strong language, and that to them is a threat. It's a threat, by the way. They'll feel like you are too woke, you know your rights, and you like you know unajua vitu zenye haufai kuwa unajua. And this is like an NGO led by a youth. He's like barely 30. And they even like receive funds from the Nairobi County government. But sasa, now when you like, did you know that the funny part was when I quoted like the Employment Act and the Disability Act 203, they felt like, ujama, no, you are not for us, right? So like that's where we need to like start from. Up and down, we are founders, we are co-founders and everything. What are you doing with your organization to like you know like address these issues? Because your organization will even have like links to like the county, the government. How are you like pushing for youth employment through that? You are not. I'm going crazy, Bana.
Okay, yeah. So before Beryl asks the question, I have one question here. Who here attended the Youth Connect in Rwanda? Is there anybody who attended?
Start from there. Do you know that I was supposed to be going for the Youth Connect? But they declined that I can't go for the Youth Connect. Why? They can't provide funds, and I should be at work. Yeah. So like, it's crazy. I was supposed to go for the Youth Connect, and do you know that you know there are like full scholarships and partial scholarships, right? Your airfare will be paid, but accommodation and everything won't be paid. But also like you are a youth, you work with an organization, and such opportunities come up, but you'll find that they can't support you in this. They can't support you in such opportunities, and this is like an NGO that wants to like amplify youth voices. How will they like amplify youth voices outside, but they can't do it from the inside? Am I making sense?
Wait. Order.
All right, let's have one meeting, guys. Kidogo. Yeah, one meeting.
Okay, Jerry, I hear you and I hear your frustration. Lakini, ukikuja na hiyo opportunity, okay, mi naongelelea tu from my experience. Jua hata mimi nimejipata kwa hiyo such heartbreak. Unainvitiwa uende event, so inabidi uongee na director kuhusu hiyo opportunity. Usually, especially with Amnesty, there's a climate justice event I was supposed to attend with Tunisia. Amnesty Tunisia wrote an email, wakasema we are requesting so and so ABCD. So what happens, you talk to, see, they've CC'd your director, your CC will talk to the finance manager. Na niliambiwa by the way sahi Pascal akosema tu ile ukweli, pesa haiko. You see, with Amnesty, if you have to travel, the money has to come from the International Secretariat. All right? It's not coming from the budget that you already have as Amnesty Kenya. The only time I am able to travel successfully ni kama pesa imetoka kwa International Secretariat, because haitoki kwa mfuko yenu. But kama mnaambiwa itoke kwa mfuko yenu ya Amnesty Kenya, lazima waangalie tu budget. Kama unaenda Mombasa, cheki we enda. But kama unaenda Tunisia, uko ni diaspora, una understand? So sometimes unatapata budget haiko kabisa. So utaambiwa check, yeah, next time pesa ikikua utaenda. Na wanakuambianga, had this opportunity come at the beginning of the year when we were trying to sort out the nini, tungekupea. Because budget ya travel iko, ya international visits travels ziko. But hizo ziko limited to just check. Okay, nasema si budget ina aki microphone aiongee. Wacha tu ni. Nikupei. Nasema Jerry, usually budget zinaanzanga kutengenezwa mwaka ikianza. So kuna zile event according to the organization, ini must watu waende unless unyimwe visa. Ini must. So hiyo ndio usipoenda unaweza zusha. Hiyo nayo usipoenda unaandika hadi email unasema watu wameninyima hiyo opportunity. But hizi zingine Jerry ina depending, Amnesty watakuuliza Tunisia wanaketa for air transport, wanaketa for transport and accommodation, useme yes. Alafu watakwambia sawa, kama wanaketa for that, sisi tunaweza jifinyilia tukupe per DM. Unaona? Lakini ati everything is fully funded by your section. Kama hakuna yenyewe manze hakuna. So ina depend, itabidi waende kwa hii department waseme nyi watu mnaweza kuwa na 10k to spare. So uchangiwe. So sometimes inaweza kosa tu kabisa. It's unfair. It's only unfair when you and somebody else was supposed to attend the event. Yeah, naenda we wendi. It's only unfair. Yeah, hapo unaweza go crazy. But tujaribu tu kuelewa. Siku rahisi hata sisi YSB tunakuwa.
Okay. So, Jerry, I think I'm explained vizuri. So it's a memo. Then there was that question I wanted Linda to answer. If these challenges are only in East Africa, East Africa, globally, here, that is the parting shot. We are coming to you. Yeah.
About the Youth Connect, first I would say it would be ridiculous if we hear Irene complain that she had an opportunity to go to New York, but SDGs Kenya Forum did not facilitate. It would be ridiculous because it's upon the organization. They have interest, and it also depends on how you presented it. If you go, I'm done. Yeah, so I was just giving an example. And then about Youth Connect, I would say there were opportunities by the government of Kenya. They were sponsoring, I think, 15 young people And then it was facilitated by NYC. There was a link, but they did not post it publicly. I am not part of the NYC. I can't respond to that. But then I got an info from an insider. I tried to engage. I tried to, if you can tag NYC in this, please do. I am sorry to mention, I engaged including Margaret Kyogoria herself. I got the link, I applied. The link was not shared in their official website, but I got the link from an insider. They were fully supporting. They were fully funding. And then and then after I engaged her, she simply told me they did the selection like 2 months ago. And then if I checked, the guy who sent me she told me it is still ongoing. So I discovered that they had specific people, they had preferences. So the government ilitoa pesa, but NYC iliangusha vijana. They had their own people. And I know like 6 people who went, and courtesy of the government of Kenya, I think our government tried, and not the government of Kenya by the, it was Nairobi County government who funded 15 youths to Rwanda for the Youth Connect, but NYC ilitunyima hiyo opportunity. They had their own, I don't know what the criteria, I don't know why they created a link for people to apply when they had their own. I don't know. I can't tell. But okay. NYC should be wanafaa waende home.
Sawa.
Wanafaa waende home.
Thank you, Mimo. So last one, alafu sasa Linda concludes. Last one there. Linda.
Okay, on Jerry's issue, I understand that we are young people na hizi opportunity what tunapenda kuzifeel. But now, looking at the organization, we have policies. And sure you have read the policies ya your organization. Tunaweza kuwa tunaionea vibaya your organization, but maybe what is in their policy defines who to go for such international meetings. On the same, you being denied the opportunity, I don't know the channel that you use to inform the organization. I've gotten this opportunity, and this is what I'll be given. I'm requesting for this. And you yourself, you know your job description, where you come from. Maybe you have a position that you can reach to the programs manager or somebody to help you do that. On the same case, if you really wanted to attend the meeting, there are so many organizations. You could have also reached out to them to support you. Umepata. I don't know if you got the opportunity on behalf of the organization or it was an individual opportunity. So it's not this organization's opportunity. Like how you got the congratulations thing, you have been invited. Was it for this host organization? So that usiwafilie wa kukusupport, maybe it's not in their line. And next time when such issues come, just talk to the management. I think I got this chance and I really have wanted to represent the organization and also young people. Ndio tusiblamiane, because also you might be in the same position next time. Then young people will complain, oh, it's only you, Jerry, going. And maybe the organization maybe wanted to go to also network with partners to look for funds. So we should also be open-minded. Kama imekuja, imekuja. Kama ija happen, ija happen.
I feel you are not denied, maybe to
make it
their
brief.
capacity of the funds. But now you can go back and discuss with them, ndio hiyo kitu
Yeah.
ikutoke.
There are many zingine. I was heartbroken, but I healed.
I'm sorry on behalf of the organization.
I was going
So,
crazy.
Jerry,
Yeah, sorry.
Jerry, yeah,
Pole.
we get your concerns.
Everyone is sorry
Yeah.
here.
We empathize with you. We get your concerns. So, Linda, wrap it up. Yeah. So let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. Excuse. Yeah. Linda. Yeah. Yeah. So Jerry, we feel you. Precise has done the honors. So Linda, so wrap it up.
All right, thank you. Do you want to repeat the question before I answer?
Yeah. So the question was, we've mentioned these challenges. So like, are they only innate to Kenya, East Africa? Because considering you attended the New York and you interacted with the UN youth delegates from other countries.
Yeah.
So just in a 3 minutes, 2 minutes, then we go for lunch. Yeah.
Okay, I think the answer is yes. Absolutely. It is not a national problem, it's an international problem. Funny enough is if you get a chance to interact with anyone from international, it's the same challenges that we are talking about. And when it comes to solving it, yeah, we need to start national, right? Because again, if we don't address it regionally, we risk chances of bulge migration. Because if Tanzania doesn't solve their economic or decent work setup, we're going to have young people from Tanzania migrating out of Tanzania and coming to Kenya, now taking opportunities away from Kenyans, which again, it's another challenge. So we're talking about not just international solidarity when it comes to addressing these challenges, but also reinforcing on the national strengths. We have, Tanzania is good in industries. It's actually doing way better than Kenya. So maybe if we can leverage on that existing best practices that they are doing, it's very much doable. But in terms of addressing it regionally or internationally, it's important mainly for purposes of one, brain drain, as they famously call it, and another thing is just migration, peace and security, because again, war starts with resource governance. If you don't handle your resource governance well, people get greedy, we have civil wars. So it comes down to the willingness as well. We understand sovereignties of different states. Some states do not like partnerships. Ni kama Ethiopia tumewakatia for so long, wakuja East Africa wamekata. Again, it comes with cultural diplomacy. You understand some countries love their values more than they do, and that is the context of Ethiopia. Their values do not align with our values as Kenya because, and like we just shared with you, Tanzania is a communist government, Kenya is a capitalist government. So those things, it actually goes back to cultural diplomacy to help us to shape now how we address international solidarity and international agreements. Because if our values and interests are not common, because that is what shapes the national frameworks or national policies. It's what we believe, what keeps us together as citizens and everyone else. So it matters to international, it matters to national spaces. And for young people, if we are, as they say, future custodians or larger custodians of this global space, or the world in general, then we have to be the ones spearheading. We can start small, but then that's all that matters, starting. Yeah.
So thank you, Linda. So we are 1 minute past time, and I think we are done. Yeah. So it was a wonderful session. So have a nice lunch.
Thank you so much. Before mwende mkakule, we need to appreciate our moderator for the group discussions. So, no, si kienyeji hivyo. Has to be a proper appreciation. Sio why, please come. Come and do this appreciation.
So I sat in a workshop with I prefer calling them geeks. Walikuwa engineers wa mining and mineral processing, and they started with, who has a background in chemistry hapa? Sawa. The elements which sawa, tosha mboga. So kwa the elements, which element when added to water makes a pop sound? Nilikupea Mwakenya, si ndio? It makes a pop sound when it's added to water. So walisema there's something called a phosphoric club. Sasa juu mnajua hiyo, phosphorus ni element ya ngapi kwa table? It was ni makofi. These are nerdy claps. And that's why you need the information. I'm giving you the information. It's 285. It's 285. So nakwambia. So we're going to do something called a phosphoric club. 2, 8, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2 till 8, then 5. No, just 2, 8, 5. Yes, a phosphoric clap. Sasa si hata nyinyi mmeona next time mtashine. Si mtashine? Yes, yes. Hadi unasimamiwa Steve. Yes, okay. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Aya, tuanze. Yeah. There is your phosphoric clap.
Unasikia Ukamba inakachapa hapo. Mimi hata nikataka hiyo word siwezi sema. So nitasema tu hiyo clap amepiga. That one. Ama nitawaambia